Okay, this is number 4 we're talking about. Number 4 asks us to find the standard form of the equation of the parabola. They give us the focus of 0, 4, and the directrix of y equals -4. So I'm going to say blue paper, right? Blue paper is what you get to use on the test tomorrow, along with your calculator and your pencil. So would you like a blue copy of it, Abby?
I might.
I know. Would you like the official blue? Here.
Mine is just boring.
I know.
Now I'm jealous.
Well, now you're going to get to have 2 copies. I did say when you said you print at home, I almost thought about saying, well, I'll just wait to print that one. I'll give you one when you get in class. But then I was like, no, it would be good to have, while you start working on things at home a little bit. But okay, so as we look at this, I'm looking at my parabola paper, my parabola on my blue paper, right, on the handout. There's 2 charts of parabolas, yes?
Yeah.
As I look at my focus is 0, a number. My directrix is y equals a number. So there's 2 things there that will help me with. First of all, the directrix being y equals, does that tell me to go left or right? The fact that the directrix is y equals, and it doesn't matter if you're looking at the top chart or the bottom chart, right? The fact that the directrix is y equals, right there, that's going to tell me to go left column. Now, the fact that my focus is 0, 4. The fact that there's a 0 involved leads me to try and use the top chart because the top chart's a little easier. And so if I look at the top chart in that left column, it says, read it that close upside down, directrix is y equals -p, and it says the focus is 0p. So I would use the top column, or the top chart, where it's a parabola with vertex 0, 0, is what I would look at. And if I look at the one that says parabola vertex 0, 0, then it says that my focus, according to the chart, is 0p. It says my directrix is y equals -p. Okay? And so, with that information, first of all, the fact that the focus was 0p, that means what is my vertex going to be? We're using the chart, so my vertex is going to be 0, 0. Which, remember, that's technically your h and k, isn't it? The other piece we need on a parabola, besides h and k, is our p-value. And so to me, by writing this out, I feel like I can see it now. And I know that is not a good answer of it's there, but the fact that the focus said 0, 4 and this focus is 0p, then I see the connection there, that p is 4. Y equals -4 for directrix, and y equals -p according to the form. So again, those 2 pieces together tell me that p is 4. The negative just is going to show you in this case that this one opens upside down, is what's going to happen there. Actually, no, wait, let me scratch that. This one's not going to open upside down. Okay. The fact that it's y equals -4, that just means my directrix is down 4. Okay, and so the fact that my directrix that's just saying where it is. This is up 4. Okay. If my negative was switched and I had the negative on, like the -4 right here on the focus, then we'd say p is -4. But considering over here on the focus, this is just 0p and this is 4, p is 4. Whereas this says negative and negative over there, That's just telling me that P itself is 4. Sorry, did I clear that up a little bit better? Okay. My left column equation was x squared equals 4p times y. And I'm using the top chart because it was centered at 0, or it had a vertex at 0, 0. And so the only thing I need to fill in is p. So x squared equals 4 times 4, or in other words, 16y. It's so easy to make these harder than what they are, but you've got to see it. Yes?
So we use the top chart because it has a 0. How do we know if that's... Okay.
Because the focus had a 0 in it, yes. Okay? And because what that's going to end up saying is that if my focus is 0, 4, then that's left or right 0, and then up 4. So that tells me that we're on that y-axis. And you could have used the bottom chart that has the centering of HK. It just is a little more complicated, I feel like. Question, Allie, or no?
It's about a different one.
Okay. Are we ready for a different one? I'm ready for a different one. Okay, Allie or Maddie, where are we going? Or are we on different ones here?
I'm just looking at the graph part on the ellipse for like 13, 14, one of those.
Okay.
Because I understand most of it, but then I'm looking at the little graph on here with the C, and I got stuff.
Okay. So 13 and 14 are both good ones to look at. As I look at 13 and 14, so if you can figure, so Allie, if you can figure everything out on those without drawing that graph, you don't have to draw graphs on 13 and 14. That was me trying to show a visual option for people that need that to see it and understand it. Now, I'm still more than willing to go in through one or both of these.
Can you do it without the graph? So, because I'm still...
Yeah, you should be able to do them without graph, I would think.
So I got my A, my K.
Which one?
On 13.
13?
Yeah.
I say let's pick one and look at it. And okay, so 13 is an ellipse. It has foci at -2, 1 and -2, -5, and major axis length is 10. As I look at this one, okay, so I'm still going to end up drawing a picture just to illustrate. But as I go through, some of you are very visual in your brains, and that you can visualize what you need to here. So when we talk about an ellipse, remember where your foci are. Yes? I mean, if I just draw, I'm going to erase this here in a moment. But if I draw a random ellipse, right? And if I draw a random ellipse, keep in mind, where are my foci? They're inside the ellipse, right? Whether it's this type or whether it's, that's really skinny, whether it's that type. Your foci are inside. The key is that those foci there, what's going to be in the middle of the foci? The center, yes? And so just by looking at this foci, you can come up with the center. Because if one of my foci is 2 left, 1 up, and the other one is 2 left, 5 down, if my center has to be in between those, well, what do you definitely know about your center? It's also going to have to be 2 left, yes? Because if my foci are both 2 left, one of them's 2 left, 1 up, the other one's 2 left, 5 down, my center is in the middle of those. So it's going to have to be 2 left, and what's in the middle between 1 and -5. So 1 and -5 are 6 apart. And if you count in 3 each way, it does end up at -2. So I would say you could do that without a picture, right? However, if everything I just did, you're saying, no, not for me, then okay, here's the picture. -2, 1. -2, -5. Okay, those are my foci. There's your visual, right? Those are my foci. Where does that center have to be? That center has to be in the middle of those. And we already agreed that in the middle of those was at -2. So there's the visual. Draw the graph, don't draw the graph. That's a personal question or personal choice. Now, we're going to need our A and B, yes? Major axis tells me what? Tells us our A is 5. Because if you look on your blue paper, it says major axis 2A. So I can automatically say 2A equals 10, A is 5. I think that is one of the first things you guys picked up on. So my center tells me H and K. I also need B. But I don't have B. But we used the word foci. What does foci mean I have? Foci means I have C, right? Because my A value takes me out to my vertices. My C value takes me out to my foci. Your C value is how far is your foci from the center. So how far is my foci from my center? 3. Uh-huh.
Okay. That makes sense.
Is that what you're trying to figure out, is when I wrote 3 on the graph where it magically came from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think a lot of you guys probably didn't just use my picture right there. Maybe you did, I don't know. But the fact that earlier when I said, okay, what's in between 1 and -5, and you eventually came up at -2, that's 3 in from either way. Okay? So yeah.
Can you explain that again? How you got the 3?
How-
The distance between the two foci?
No, distance from the center to the foci.
Okay.
So the distance from foci to foci would be 6, because it went from -1 to 5, or reverse that, 1 to -5. So that distance was 6. And so in order to find the middle, half of 6 is 3. So you're counting in 3 either way. And C is the distance from the center to one of the foci. Just like A is the distance from the center to one of the vertices. Okay. If we know A is 5 and C is 3, you know how to find B, right? Which Pythagorean relationship do I need?
C squared equals A squared minus B.
Okay. C squared equals A squared minus B squared. Don't be afraid to double check yourself on the blue paper, yes? So you grab the right one. So let's see. 9 equals 25 minus B squared. Subtract 25. -16 is -b squared. I'm going to say b squared is 16, and so b is 4. Am I supposed to be writing an equation? Is that what I'm supposed to be doing? I am. Okay. Sorry, I sometimes lose track of where am I going with this. What is my end result? Am I writing a left column or right column equation?
Right.
And why is it a right column? I agree.
Because the C is bigger than. No. Yeah, it's up and like.
Because they have the
Yeah.
edges on
It's up and down.
Okay, so two different thoughts. My thought was looking at my visual, my foci are vertical. And so my foci being vertical tells me it's a right column problem. Okay. I just heard a comment about my H values. So if you look at foci, my foci are H, comma, K plus or minus C. And if you look on your paper, that would be the right column as well, right? Correct? So, nope, I just wrote it wrong. We are filling in y minus k squared over a squared plus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. Do you really need me for this part? Let's see, y minus negative 2. Okay, y plus 2 squared, a squared, 25, x minus negative 2, so x plus 2 squared over 16 equals 1.
I wrote down the top half, like that top part of it, as number 14, and the bottom half was number 13. So I was like, that's not right.
Okay. So 13's a good one to understand. Okay. Next, Maddie.
30. I just don't know what we got the from on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Question is to look at 30. And on 30, find the eccentricity of the hyperbola. And this is the trickier one of the two. I'll be honest. Something like 31 is probably more, more the basics, okay? So if you're comfortable with 31, you're on the right track knowing the basics and what you definitely need to know for the test. 30, there's a trick, isn't there? And as we look at 30 and 31, in order to find the eccentricity, remember eccentricity is C over A. Whether we're talking hyperbola or ellipse, it's C over A. So we need to know our C and A values. Notice this hyperbola already equals 1, correct? However, the catch is it's supposed to be x squared over something, y squared over something. And that it can be over 1, but the problem is it can't have the 16 coefficient like the x squared does. And so what you need to think about here, x squared times 16 is the same as x squared divided by what? The reciprocal, right? So if we say, here I'll even throw in an over 1 there, x squared times 16, how do you change that to division, right? It's division is multiplying by the reciprocal. So if this is x squared divided by 1/16, then that's the same thing as saying keep, change, flip, right? X squared times 16 over 1. And so that's why you'll see the first thing I did is I rewrote this and said, okay, instead of 16 times x squared, it's x squared divided by 1/16. Y squared is just going to be y squared over 1 equals 1. Now, keep in mind, these denominators are a squared and b squared. So if a squared is 1/16, what does that mean a is? The square root of 1/16? And so a is going to be 1/4. If b squared is 1, then b is 1. Square root of 1/16. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 16 is 4. Yes? Is that what you needed me to say, maybe? Something in there?
I just lost the square root part.
Okay. Yeah. From here, you have to find c, right? Which, again, Maddie's saying this isn't, isn't the part she needs. But c squared equals, what is this, a hyperbola? So this is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Yeah, so c squared equals 1/16 plus 1. So if I make that 1/16, this is 7/16. And then the square root of 17/16 is going to be the square root of 17/4. Because this 1 here, I would change it and make it 16/16. Or I would say 1 and 1/16 and make it improper. I don't know what, whichever way your brains work better. So officially you had to find eccentricity, so c over a, square root of 17/4 divided by 1/4. If I do square root of 17/4 divided by 1/4, then that is square root of 17/4 multiplied by the reciprocal, so times 4/1. And there we end up with square root of 17. And I went really quick on that. I'm sorry. I probably should have slowed down there at the end. At that point, I was basically doing middle school fractions. Not saying that you don't need a moment to process, but so c over a, square root of 17/4 divided by 1/4. So I wrote it out horizontally as division, right? Fraction divided by fraction. In order to do fraction divided by fraction, I keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, and I take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So keep, change, flip. 4's canceled, I ended up with square root of 17.
Is that going to be on the test? That kind of problem?
In terms of this mess up in the beginning, no. Okay, I would say be more comfortable with something like 31. Where 31, you have to know to divide by 72 to begin with. But it's not quite as messy otherwise. Okay, so yeah. Out of these two, I have 31 circled as a more appropriate, question there. Okay, we good with that one? I'm assuming Emily's going to move me on. Okay, go ahead.
27.
Okay, you guys ready for 27? Okay, let's see. Center, -2, 4. Focus, -2, 10. Vertex, -2, 6. Surprised at myself, I didn't draw a picture here. I might draw a picture and see if that helps you guys. Okay. Trying to write the equation of the hyperbola. The center of negative 2, 4 tells me my h and k values, yes? Now, what you need to remember is that when we talk about foci, and vertices, and I guess we could go ahead and talk, is this left column or right column? And the fact that all these negative 2's are the same, right? So all of these h values are the same, tells me that this is a right column, okay? Because this is hk. Foci officially fall into the form h, k plus or minus c, and vertices officially fall into the form h, k plus or minus a, right? And it says k plus or minus c and k plus or minus a because there's 2 foci, one on either side of the center. And there's 2 vertices. But here they only give us 1, yes? And so this is, I know it was questioned of me individually last week. I just wrote k plus c and k plus a on the answer key, didn't I? And I did that because they only gave me 1. And they gave me the ones where my values are bigger than k. And so okay, so at negative 2, 4, we have a center. At negative 2, 10, we have a focus. And at negative 2, 6, we have a vertex, right? The idea here is that, okay, let's use our vertex first. The vertex is k plus or minus a. So one of them is going to be k plus a. The other one's going to be k minus a. Well, we only have the one that's bigger, which is why I was trying to get you guys to think that this is going to be the one k plus a. Because I keep telling you guys, A takes you from your center to where? To your vertice, right? Your A value takes you out to your vertices. Your C value takes you out to your foci. And so the fact, how far is my center from my vertex here? That is a distance of 2, right? And it's the distance from the center to the vertex. And so that is an A value. So because this 6 right here is basically this 4 plus 2, that's my K plus A there. Okay? And so that's how I know A is 2. I can do the same thing with my foci. How far to get from the center to the foci? Well, the center to the foci is going to be C, isn't it? And how far is it to get from 4 to 10? Four to 10 is going to be 4 plus 6. And that's how I know my C value is 6. I don't know, have I done any justice on explaining this one or no?
That whole graph situation of this to this is A, and then that one to that one is C. That makes no sense.
And that's just, you've just got to know that. And if you go back to this first, like the original.
Those confuse me too, though. I don't understand these pictures.
Okay, well, what you've got to know. I mean, and that's even if you just look at foci. Foci are plus or minus C. Vertices are plus or minus A. Every time, whether we're talking about an ellipse or a hyperbola, it's always C to get to the foci. So a good thing to just know and have memorized is that C represents the foci. From the center to the foci is C. From the center to the vertice is A. Like, that's how we know. That's just a connection that we have to make there. Okay? And so that's, that's the connection that has to be made to do this problem, unfortunately. I say unfortunately just because you're struggling to, see that one, but that is the connection to be made. Okay? And that's why I keep repeating it, don't I? Center to the foci is C, center to the vertices is A. You guys know where to go from here, right? A and C, so we're going to use our Pythagorean relationship. Are we in hyperbolas? Yes, we're in hyperbolas. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. I said C is 6, A is 2, and B is what I don't know. So 36 equals 4 plus B squared. B squared is 32. B is the square root of 32. I don't really need to go farther from writing an equation. What did we say? We already said this was the right column, didn't we? Because the h's were always the same. So y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared. What is my k? I've lost it. There we go. Y minus 4 squared over a squared. 4 minus x minus h, that's going to be x plus 2 squared over b squared, so that's going to be 32, equals 1. Notice a was smaller than b on this one, wasn't it? And that's okay because it's a hyperbola. Okay. Yes?
Do you have time to look at one of the graphs for the hyperbolas?
We can try. What are we talking about? What?
Let's go 20. I'm just looking at, I guess just plotting the points.
Okay, 28 or 29?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick 29, actually.
Okay.
Of the two, it's my circled problem, so. $29. And I know it's the more basic of the two, but it more relates on this one what's going to be on the test, so. Okay, 29. Y squared over 49 minus x squared over 9 equals 1. This is a y squared comes first, yes. And with it being the subtraction type, we know that then this is a second column, right? We know that this is a second column hyperbola. We know A is 7. And we know then B is 3. Where is this centered at? Okay, this one is centered at 0, 0. Because it's just x squared and y squared on top, right? Okay. With a hyperbola, and I know I found C on there, you don't technically have to have C unless you're told to graph your foci. Okay, and that's not explicitly on there. I found C, but then I'm not even sure I graphed. Did I graph my foci? Maybe I have them on there. It's really hard to tell. I'll be honest. Let's go with graphing the basics here. Okay. Okay, my center is at 0, 0, yes? Yeah. And it's not necessarily that you have to have a dot at your center, but if it's not at 0, 0, you probably want a dot there to just kind of have a location. Okay. My A is 7. From that center point, you're either counting left and right 7 or up and down 7. What does my 7 come from? Is it coming from the X or the Y? It's under the Y. Y coordinates go which way? Y's go up and down. So that means I'm going to count 7 up and down for my center. So I'm going to count up to 7, and I'm going to count down to 7. Those are my A's. And I did up and down 7 because that was under my Y, or my Y variable, okay? If those are my A's, those are also my vertices, correct? A's are vertices, C's are foci. Now, B is 3. Well, process of elimination, we already went up and down 7, so we have to go left and right. But also notice this 3 came out from underneath x squared. So I'm going to go right 3 is one of my B values and left 3. And this is from the center. A's and B's I use to make my rectangle, my box. I've looked at the clock and I'm running out of time, so you got a very quick, sketchy box, right? Why do I do this box? This is my asymptotes. Take a moment to be careful. My asymptotes go through the center and through the diagonals. I like to start my asymptotes in the middle so that I can get them, if I start in the middle and go either direction, I can get the corners. Now, here's the one question. Where do I draw this hyperbola? At the tops or the sides?
Top.
This is a top-bottom one because my Y came first. And those were my A values. You're using your A values to draw your hyperbola. Okay? Whoops. That one's kind of an ugly hyperbola there at the bottom, but you get the picture. Okay. I'm here before school, after school. If you guys have other questions you want to ask, homeroom. I will say if we end up on a 2-hour delay, we'll either not take the test or we'll split the test, one of the two. I don't know which. If we're not here, we won't take the test. So.
Is there talk of like going
No.